as a Krishna is listening, he's, I mean...
Yeah. He just told me yesterday a story. He had an experience before he even joined. He was already chanting. And then they had still some rapping performance, you know, with all kinds of famous rappers. And there was a big audience in Copenhagen. And everybody had to present his personal mantra. They used the word. So he said, you know, there was a whole big audience. He said, I have a big mantra for you, you know. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And I believe. And then the other rapper came and said, I have a mantra too. We should be all one and the same and love each other. And there's a big round of applause. He realized, maybe I got something real, you know. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So this is Srimad Bhagavatam 7, Canto Chapter 4, text. What was the last one? Last one you
I had Monday. I had 9 to 12.
9 to 12, yeah.
So this is 13. No, 14.
14.
Yesterday was 30.
Yeah.
14. Okay. Can you just read this? There's a long shlokas, this one. Jagurmaindrasanam ujasashtitam vishwavasustumhur asmat adayaha gandharvasida rishayostu vanmuhur vidyadharash chapsara chapandava Jagu sunk of the glories,
Son of the glorious,
Mahindra Asanam,
Asanam,
the throne of King Indra,
the throne of King Indra,
Ojasa,
Ojasa,
by personal power, Shtitam, situated on, Vashwavasu, the chief singer of the Gandharvas, Tumburu, another Gandharva, singer. Asmat Adayaha, including ourselves, Narada and others, also glorified Hiranyakashipu, Gandharva, the inhabitants of the Gandharva Loka, Siddha, the inhabitants of Siddha Loka, Rishayaha, great sages, and saintly persons, Ashtuvan, offered prayers, Muhu, again and again, Vidyadhara, the inhabitants of Vidyadhara Loka, Cha, and Apsarasaha, the inhabitants of Apsaroloka, Cha, and Pandava, descendant of Pandu. Translation. O Maharaj Yudhishthira, descendant of Pandu, by dint of his personal power, Hiranyakashipu, being situated on the throne of King Indra, controlled the inhabitants of all the other planets. The two Gandharvas, Vishwavasu and Tumburu, I myself, and the Vidyadharas, Apsaras and sages all offered prayers to him again and again, just to glorify him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Asuras sometimes become so powerful they can engage even Radha Muni and similar devotees in their service. This does not mean that Narada was subordinate to Hiranyakashipu. Sometimes, however, it so happens in this material world that great personalities, even great devotees, can also be controlled by the Asuras. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Prachane Nirvishesha Shnyamari Prashkati Dasatana. So of course this may be confusing. How is it possible that even such a great devotees are by circumstances engaged not directly in the service, but in the praise, of such a great demons. Prabhupada actually mentioned that we can extend respect and praise to anybody who is, you could say, situated in a dominant position in this world, because it's not a chance he got that. There must have been some austerities performed. Nothing in this material world comes easy and for free. So even we may not see it, but the fact that somebody becomes a pope, that somebody becomes, president of a country, the chief of police or the chief of the army, or whatever prominent positions these are, which Prabhupada also said, are more or less meaningless and of a very small nature because they are temporary. They are going to be removed. Anybody will be removed from these positions. So still, while being in that position, we can extend some respect on that level. Because, this is how Prabhupada treated. You could see it in his preaching. He addressed the Pope, writing him a letter, as a great leader of a great religious sect. Which when you think about this clearly, it's not exactly a praise. It's just a big sect, but it's just another sect. It's called the Christians. And especially in Kali Yuga, we can be almost sure that whoever comes in a socially prominent position is a demon. Because in Kali Yuga is an age where demons get this blessing, which they normally would never get in other ages. By the blessing of Lord Shiva, even the most amazing, spooky characters can assume, it's described in the Shastra, positions of religious leaders, especially religious leaders, and people who are highly in command. They can do that. It's a special blessing of Kali Yuga. As we know, Lord Shiva is traveling with his hordes of disciples, which are mostly in a subtle form, ghosts, hobgoblins, and who knows what. Some of them very powerful ghosts. So they get a facility to actually manifest in a physical body, in a dress of kings, leaders, religious leaders even. You find completely atheistic people being religious leaders. Completely atheistic. And they, in that institution, they just make career and they become prominent. Nowadays, basically, you can see how they express themselves. These religious leaders is plainly on a humanitarian, social welfare level. This is actually, when you listen what they are talking, is the same song. The poor, and even Jesus was was reduced to a form of a social welfare worker. The chief of the Red Cross. It's the same Jesus who says, if your eye makes a problem in your spiritual life, just block it out. The same Jesus who, when his Holy Father came and Holy Mother, he completely ignored them up to the point his disciples said, Jesus, this is your parents came. It's your family. He said, who is my family? Who is my parents? Then he pointed to his disciples and said, this is my family. This is my parents. So, quite a social man, you could say. Very radical in his expressions. Very radical. Therefore, even amongst the anarchists and even the figure of Jesus also sometimes comes up. Hey, that was the real one. I really speak from experience because I traveled in Germany for 2 years, exclusively through priests' homes, because that was our refuge every evening. We knocked on the priest house, which in Germany is not a small house. Every church in Germany has a little hotel to it for the humble traveling preachers, They have a whole private arrangement, both Protestant and Catholic. And because we want to save some money, and we also thought we are monks, so we just every evening knocked on a door, Every town had such a thing. Every village almost had such a thing. And we said, sorry, we are monks, we are traveling, could we stay overnight? And we were actually quite liberally welcomed, both by Catholic and Protestants. And then we could get a very close inside look. Like in a Protestant line, there was not only the church, there was not only the guest house for the priests, for the traveling preachers, but there was always a disco to it. That was the preaching tool for the Protestants, to invite all the young people, have a good drink and, Saturday night fever, And simultaneously, the priest was liberally sitting in the middle, because the essence of that whole preaching line is that God gave us the senses, and that's the proof we should enjoy them. Otherwise, why would He give it to us? Isn't it? The only thing we have to say, thank you, God. Cheers. That's the mantra for the Protestants. Of course, they will be upset hearing saying that, but that's what we saw in action. And by the night, the priest was drunk and the disciples were drunk. It was a good Protestant session. So, of course, many young people flocked, because in a small village it was the only place you could go and get yourself drunk. It was the priest disco. And always in the backyard they had some small rooms. I really preferred heating rooms, were my preference, because it was always warm. And I learned how to sleep on a ping pong table. That was my favorite place, because all the priest houses had ping pong. Could play. So ping pong table, because it's a big place, you can roll up your sleeping bag, it's over the ground, there is no draft, there's no cold. So, the ping pong table was, because I was the Sankirtan leader, I was the privileged one, so I always got the ping pong table. The rest had to sleep on the floor. So, so that was our Protestant residence. And you will be amazed, some of these were usually young guys, these priests and this, So you will be amazed. And of course, we start to introduce them to Bhagavad Gita. They were quite open for that. And their libraries, wow! You could find from Lenin's complete works over Mao Zedong up to the Bible, everything was there. They just were like, hey, that was the Protestant line. In a Catholic line, we found another ecstasy, which was actually more of our nature. I found very, very strict priests. Men who lived lifelong in celibacy, obviously. That you can feel that. I remember churches in Germany, small churches, where the priest was excited that he got a monks, as young monks, the real monks. And he gave us also a whole house to stay in, no disco. And he woke up in the morning and he was especially excited how early we are getting up, chanting on our rosaries, because he had one too. And he was that, and we end up, usually very often they meditate on an organ in the church in the morning. They play some religious things and they meditate about Jesus and this. So of course it didn't took long. I was playing forehand on a big organ with the priest, These machineries are impressive. Organ is the instrument which is like an orchestra on its own. You can mix it up, these old organs. Oh, amazing. So we had a whole church for ourselves. We ended up devotees standing down there at the altar, the Jesus, And they were going, Samsara Dava Nalalida Loka. They put our altar also there, on a big altar, to the lotus feet of Jesus. And then we had a morning program. And I was on the organ in the back, just pulling the registers out, just Samsara Dava Nalalida. Sounds like amazing. And the priest liked that. He was going, wow, this is such a nice ceremony we have here. With the real monks, the young monks who are dancing. And he said, your religion is so nice. One of the priests of this really old guys, he told me, I always thought Jesus must be smiling. He must have been actually a very happy person, being fully absorbed in service of God. But I never saw it in our church. Now I can see it in you. There were some guys like that. So we had quite some addresses which were very welcoming. Then, of course, a central letter was issued both from the Catholic and from the Protestant Church, absolutely forbidden to accommodate any Hare Krishna sect. That was the end of the Christian mercy. It was cancelled with one letter. So these guys start to get afraid, because they would be excommunicated if they would accommodate Hare Krishna. Actually, some of them still kept on secretly accommodating us, but it didn't last for long. We had to stop that and go to the hotel. So, you know, so that was something from the German thing. So, but you find in the common level of priesthood, you find even idealistic people in these institutions. But the higher you go, the more tense it gets. There's one devotee who participated, you know, in the interreligious meeting, including the chiefs of the Slovakian, you know, it's quite actually heavy in these countries, all of them, the priests and the church. After the communism especially, they became very dominant. And Russia, especially Orthodox Church, very difficult. Very, very anti-Hare Krishna. Very heavy. They understand this could be a problem. Because Russia especially, so many people so easily start to chant. Big threat for the Orthodox Church. So they are. And then you look at the faces of these people. You know, or as it was reported from the Slovakian Bishop Conference, the devotee attended, he was very good in this, to get close to these people and move in these circles. He said it was not only this fierce, demoniac spirit this guys emanated, but the smell was disgusting. You know what? They don't wash themselves. They were stinking, all of them. You know, these people sitting there, you know, with the foul outfits, very angry just by seeing a devotee. So that demon is a real demon. He will be just agitated just by seeing a devotee. You don't have to even say anything. And don't think that just because you have a tilak and a dhoti. No, even you are completely underground, he will smell it. He will just know, this is a devotee. Just to be stopped immediately. Immediately. A real demon is like, stop it immediately. We had this kind of scenes in Germany all the time. You know, especially when we went public with Harinam. People stepping forward going, stop it immediately! Police! Immediately! And even other people, which is the majority, the innocent ones, or confused ones, you could say, they're going, yeah, but they are just singing. This is dangerous. It's to be stopped immediately. You know, stop it! And he goes, Hare Krishna. Bhakti Bhushana Maharaj always got this sweet smile with his blue eyes. He said, hey, a demon. You know, it was like, you know. In Germany it's nice because they are so distinct. They don't come in a kind of undercover form. They just come out, you know. They should be forbidden immediately! You know, police! And usually the mantra was, I'm a Christian, I don't call police. It was so regular that we were always telling them, but Jesus is not in a police station. Is he now the police chief, or did Jesus become the police chief? So, yeah, what? So this is the German version of, I'm Christian, police! You know, let's gas them in. This is the preaching. So this is very distinct. You are very spoiled here in Denmark because you don't have this. Here is all whoosh, wash, whoosh, whoosh, stop. Don't worry, they are here. They are here. They just are compromised by that, you know, by that oneness. Okay. Actually, we derive benefits from that oneness, you know. We are like, okay, we are all a part of the oneness. You know. And Prabhupada, you could see even like in discussion with Cardinal Danelieu in France, another one. That was a good one. He was soon after found dead in a brothel house. You know, you can see Prabhupada is dealing in a quite dignified fashion. Even Prabhupada is extremely angry. On that movie, just watch his right knee. It just goes like this. You know, it goes. Prabhupada says, that's all right. Because Cardinal Danelieu tried to explain that the hungry children should eat cows, why not? Eating cows, feeding cows to hungry. When the children are hungry, we have to feed them cows. It's just, you know. He was just tested to the max of his tolerance. It is reported that after such a meeting, Prabhupada privately was then raging over this issue for days. In private talks, he was just all the time. I mean, you know what happened when he met Mr. Kotovsky, you know. Mr. Kotovsky became world famous, thanks to Prabhupada. Because you find it in all the talks, in all the lectures. And then Mr. Kotovsky, you know, he said no. And he was as an Indiologist. Anyway, he was recently conducted in interviews with Mr. Kotovsky. He felt quite insulted by the publication of Lilamrita. I think even he made it even into the Lilamrita. I don't know. I don't know the context. But, you know, but Prabhupada was very stuck on Mr. Kotovsky, always using him as a prototype of somebody who, you know, is very, very materialistic. So these kind of, that we can learn from this, that we should not be confused, that even such a personalities like Narada Muni, they will be polite, you couldn't call it, they don't worship really, they're just polite, understanding that this person couldn't get into that position without Krishna's blessing. There must be a plan. Narada Muni especially he's like the red string going through the Bhagavatam, always introducing, you know, yeah. Already when Hiranyakashipu starts to, or yeah, when he starts to, you know, kill like anything, yeah, then, or comes up when he kills the children, which is like a real thing to do, to kill small babies. Narada Muni encouraged him to kill more. He goes, how do you know that these babies hear that Krishna is not one of them? The best thing is to kill them all, yeah? And in this way comes and goes, that's my friend, it's a good idea. So he's, you know, killing all the babies appearing before Krishna. In this way, Krishna's appearance gets accelerated, and so does comes as karma. That's quite tricky. It's in one sense, you could say, quite cunning. Narada Muni going, yes, very cunning, babies, very good. You know, in this way, he actually accelerates Kamsa's destruction. Because saintly persons know the bigger scheme, always, the bigger plan. Therefore, they are very often misunderstood by public because they sing in a completely different dimensions. Well, Prabhupada said, if you would really understand what I'm talking and follow relay, then we could take the whole world in, I think, in 18 days or something like this. You know? Yeah. Well, they're like, joy, Prabhupada, joy. And Prabhupada had it all schemed out. He said, we will have our own government, we will have our own currency, we will have our own, you know. And already during his presence, things were happening which nobody thought could ever happen. This is what happens when you meet a devotee of that caliber, because he knows Krishna's plan. He is part of something really big, which we don't know. So a saintly person being part of something really grand and big, he can afford to respect even somebody like a small guy like Hiranyakashipu. Because he will know that he will be destroyed soon. So, you know, which of course creates a doubt on the side of the public, which is not so long-sighted, which is more short-sighted. So they will think, what is this? I mean, why didn't Narada Muni oppose immediately? Why didn't preach to him? Why not smash him? Why to be part of worship of Hiranyakashipu? Because in that particular context, you know, this is also a function of saintly persons to be blessing, but their blessings are as Krishna's blessings. They are true blessings which are actually materially destructive. A real person, a saintly person, will bless you in such a way that you will be